Okay, peeps, welcome back. So LTCN and BCHG have had massive moves up today. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so first thing I want to do is give a shout out here to Young Day DH. Not sure if that's how you say that right, but thank you for the 199 super thanks. And also, let's see if I can find it. So I know it's here somewhere. Where is it? Here we go. Also, a super. I want to say thank you for the super thanks from Steve Hurd. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate you guys' support on this channel. We do a lot of work here, and we do our best to try to give you guys the best content that we can provide. So, anyways, thank you for that. Now let's get into the content. So, LTCN and BCHG, as you guys see here, have had a massive day. Pretty huge day. We do still have our LTCN position. We just don't have it pulled up right now. But as you guys know, we recently offloaded BCHG. So anyways, in terms of LTCN, what's going on here? So the trend line has broken. It appears to be so on the weekly. But again, in order for this to count, we have to close the week on Friday, market session close with this green candle body above this trend line. So the last time that we saw something like this, as you guys can see, there was kind of this dip, and we were basically people were either selling off or shorting this trend line. I'm not sure if it was day traders, swing traders, or people taking profit. I have no idea. But as you guys can see, after that, we had an absolutely monstrous move to the upside. So once this thing did break above it and close, confirm bullish, I actually have to remeasure this because it's such a large move. So the move was pretty huge. It was about 242%. Now, I don't know that we're going to get a move that big on this breakout. It's possible, but if we were to measure that out and say this thing is going to move 242%, it's interesting how this correlates. You guys can see that we would be almost exactly at the top of this next major resistance level up here. So it'd be about $128. The top of that zone is going to be about 135-ish, somewhere in there. So yeah, a lot of people just simply were not waiting for this thing to come back down to the zone down here. As you guys can see, based on previous price action, this was strong resistance in the previous bear market. Then we snapped straight out of it and then came down and retested it, but not really. We didn't really retest it because you guys can see it kind of just did like this little fake out, like, oh yeah, we're going to come down and touch this zone. Oh, nope, just kidding. We're going straight up. So that's what happened. Now, in terms of next levels that we're looking at here, so we got the bounce initially, and we're looking for a break of the trend line. The next thing that we're looking for is a candle close on the weekly and or potentially even the daily above this control bar here. Again, that price is at 50. 50 is also a major psychological level. Next level we'd be looking for is about $75. So pretty much right where the tops of these candles are over here. I mean, you had this massive green move up, and then it kind of got held down at 75, and then eventually we had this kind of really strange looking long wick candle here, and then it just continued to go higher after that. So so once we get past 75, at that point the next level is going to be roughly about $100 to $135, and of course the correlation measurement between this breakout and this breakout is it would be roughly about the same, assuming the percentage was the same to the upside. So basically, if this thing goes up to $130, you're looking at roughly about a 3.25x or so from here. So huge move. And in terms of the breakouts, so this guys, this is not like an actual price pattern here. So these trend lines are just meant for breakouts only. It's not a price pattern. It's not like a bull flag or anything like that. It's not considered to be an actual price pattern. It's basically just a downtrending line. We're looking for a break and a green candle close above it, and then there it is. We expect the price to move higher. So very simple stuff. So now if we go over to the daily, I do want to look at this. So it does look like we have a candle close above this trend line on the daily. As you guys can see, the wicks, each one of them touch this trend line, and then finally we got the break above it. So bullish confirmation on the daily. We just need that bullish confirmation on the weekly also. And same thing down here, as you guys can see. So I'm not really sure what happened here. Maybe if I move this trend line back like this on the daily, you guys can see it kind of got held down. We had this little pop out of here, and then it came back and retested the trend line on this massive red candle, and then boom, popped to the upside. But the point of this is that we want to see a green candle close above these trend lines on the daily first and then the weekly. So we have the one on the daily. Now we just got to get it on the weekly. So let's go head over to BCHG. So same thing on BCHG. We have not had the pop above the trend line yet, as you guys can see, but it did have a pretty large move up. So ever since bouncing from this support, we've gone from about $10 to about $16.80. And just understand, guys, this is crypto. It would not surprise me if tomorrow BCHG and LTCN went up another 20% in one day. Okay, it can happen, believe it or not. I mean, shoot, it could go up 50% in one day tomorrow. That could happen too, or 100%. I mean, anything's possible. But basically, from the bottom of that wick low to where we are currently, it's up already about 54%. So again, current support between roughly about 10.10 to 12.80. Resistance $18 to about 20 and a quarter, and then the peak up there is 23.70. So we're looking for something very similar to BCHG here. Okay, so we want to see a candle close break of the trend line, first on the daily, then on the weekly. As you guys can see, these wicks were touching the trend line, got rejected for quite a few weeks, and then bang, we basically just destroyed pretty much all resistances that were immediately above heads. So yeah, that was pretty crazy. Was not expecting it to be that bullish, but is what it is. So again, the measured move from that level to basically that wick high up there, 395%. We can measure what a potential breakout would look like on that, although I think this is less likely because, again, the more expensive the price gets, generally the more capital it takes to move the price, which means that the move may not be as big. Of course, there's no guarantees. It could still go up, a massive 400%, but as you guys see, based on previous price action, if we did get a 400% move, that would be crazy. I don't think that's going to happen on this move. We might get maybe half that, but I mean, yeah, that would pretty much put us at all-time highs for BCHG. So it'd be a pretty fat move up. Okay, so let's go to the daily here. Take a look at the daily time frame. You guys can see we're getting ready to push against this trend line again. So we are close, but not quite there yet. As you guys can see on the previous trend line, we actually had a gap up. So it wasn't just an increase in price, it was also a gap move, which makes it especially powerful. And then we pretty much just took a rocket ship straight up, went from like about $4 all the way to a peak of about $24. So nearly a 6x in price appreciation just to the upside. So again, we'll keep a lookout on this trend line for a potential break, but we have not gotten that on BCHG yet. I suspect LTCN's move is probably happening a little bit earlier because BCHG has been more explosive than LTCN. So, LTCN's early move this time around is probably compensating for that, would be my guess. So HZEN, as of right now, support's still about $4 to $4.20. And $6.90 to about $8.10 is going to be your resistance. The wick high up there is roughly about $10.50 per share. So we are coming back and retesting this resistance zone. I will not lie to you guys. I was seriously tempted to buy some HZEN this morning, but I was like, nope, not going to do it because I really want to see it come back down to this trend line and then load the boat heavy on this thing. Or not trend line, sorry, the support zone. So as you guys can see, the drop would still be pretty heinous. It'd be about 33%. So anyways, if you wanted to wait for the move down here, you guys could get up to 105% on that move, and then back to the wick high would be pretty massive, so about 163% move. So ETCG, this is one that we did actually buy this morning. Again, we don't have our portfolio pulled up because just for whatever reason we didn't do it this time, but that's okay. We'll show you guys in another video. So as you guys can see, we are holding this trend line. I suspect that's probably going to hold, most likely. If it doesn't, maybe we bottom out somewhere at the bottom of this channel at $11. At this point, I don't see that as being likely. So support is between 13 to about 1580. $17.60 to $20. And again, we bought basically down at these levels because if this thing touches this trend line, which it did, and then it smashes straight to the upside, well, that's the perfect time to buy the dip. So what you guys want to do with that, that's up to you. So to get back to the top of support, we're looking at about 17%, 32%, and then 49.5% to get back up to that resistance. So GXLM, this one, again, it had a pump and then a dump. It was basically a big giant fake out. That does happen sometimes in trading. It's pretty rare for a level not to be retested when it turns into a flip zone, but it does happen from time to time. Most of the time it will retest. Like, give you guys an example. So this was support. You can see it wasn't perfect, but it did kind of retest it. Came back, tried to retest again here, and then crashed. But then we came back up, tested this as resistance, and now we're coming back up again and testing it as resistance. This was normal. This is not normal. This does happen sometimes. It's kind of a discrepancy that the markets do on occasion. So anyways, the current support zone that you're going to be looking for is pretty much right along the top of that trend line. So it's going to be currently roughly about $40. It could come down to these candle highs here, as you see, and within this rising wedge, although I'm not sure how likely that is because we have a double bottom here, as you guys can see. Two nice bullish looking wicks. And so that price range is basically anywhere from 31 to 41 bucks. Current resistance is 52.50 and all the way up to about 58.5. And then that wick high up there is about 69 bucks. So assuming you wanted to get in somewhere in the middle, you'd be looking at about 42%, 58%, and 84% or so respectively. So ETH, we're still kind of bobbing around in this channel and or handle from the cup and handle pattern. Again, the cup and handle, as you guys can see here. Those of you guys that know what this is in trading, I don't need to explain it to you. And you guys that don't know, you can look it up for yourself if you're curious. So 54.5 bucks would be the target on that. As of right now, the current support is going to be between 17.30 to about 18 bucks. You could use this trend line as support, so that could be anywhere from 18 to currently about 21. How you guys want to go about that is up to you. And resistance is going to be roughly about $25 to 29 bucks. So do the measured move from the zone down there. You'd be looking at about 45%, 67%, and then 103% respectively. If we do get a bullish breakout out of this and it does turn out to be a cup and handle pattern, we'll measure the target at that time. So Zcash, this one's just kind of stuck in the middle, not bullish, not bearish. I mean, this could be a reversal right here. If it's, you get a red candle, then a red candle with a long wick at the bottom. This is basically the bearish version of what would be a hammer candle, which again is an extremely bullish reversal candle, especially off support. And then we get another big fat green candle on this week. Then we obviously know it was a reversal, but as of right now, we don't quite know yet. But the current support is going to be about 430 to 508, 740 to roughly about $8 on resistance, and then 1022 at the high up there. If it gets down to this level right here, we are definitely going to be adding some serious amount of shares. I can tell you all that right now. So from the zone to the resistance, you'd be looking at about 54%, 71%, and then 116% respectively. So GSOL, this thing is holding the trend line. In my opinion, I would not bet on this. There is a chance it could break. There's a common theme in trading that the more a level is tested, the more likely it is to break. As you guys can see here, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tests on this previous resistance, and then we broke out. So I would still say that likely this thing is probably going to come back down to somewhere in the zone. So about 175 to 200 bucks, maybe as high as 230 at the top of these candles here. But I'm just playing this conservatively. I would not buy this up here, especially considering how cheap some of these other grayscale trusts are. But, you guys do you. So from the zone to the top of the move up there, you can see it's a massive 186%. Just to give you guys an example of what it would be like if you bought now, you'd be looking at maybe 33%. Could it go higher than that? Of course, it's possible. I mean, we're in the time frame now in the crypto cycle to where I would say the probability is higher that it goes higher than the previous all-time high. But again, in terms of technicals, this just tells me that, this screams that it's a dump waiting to happen. Of course, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, well, okay. If you guys end up making a killing on this position from the current price, man, congrats. So the move down would be about 56% just to get back into that zone. So mana, this one is slowly coming down. If it gets into the support box, we're definitely going to be picking some up for sure. So the support, again, is roughly about 18 to 20. I would say it'll probably bottom anywhere between that support zone and maybe the bottom of this wick right here, because a lot of bulls, when they trade this thing, they're looking for like wick bottoms and stuff like this, or wick tops to get in at the what's considered to be the ideal, most low risk point on the chart. So that's going to be about $24, but we'll just do a measurement from the zone to the wick top up here. And again, the wick top is going to be about $70. So you'd be looking at about 287% on that move. Okay, so GBAT, same thing as I've said before. I think this thing probably bottoms out somewhere around $10. It could bottom out a little bit higher, maybe at this wick here, 1240. But again, this trend line was broken, so I'm thinking this wick bottom is not going to be the true bottom here, but we'll just have to wait and see. And of course, the previous high up there is roughly about $32. So assuming you got in somewhere around $10, you'd be looking at roughly about a 3x or 219%. So G-Link, same thing, break of the trend line. I'm expecting this to come back down to the zone at some point. When exactly, I don't know, but it's going to be somewhere between $66 to $83. And of course, the previous all-time high is $220. So the move from that zone to the previous high, you'd be looking at about 197% move on that one. FILG, yeah, this thing is really choppy, but as you guys can see, it is kind of making higher, or I should say lower lows and lower highs here. So you have your high, your lower high, and your lower here. Theoretically, this thing will make another lower high and then kind of pull back a little bit more. It doesn't have to. It could go up. That's possible. But, I mean, based on what the current trend tells me, I would say it's probably going to come a little bit lower. So it could bottom out at $120. I would not be buying this at 120 because the drop from that point is still massive. I'd probably be looking to pick up some PhilG roughly around this area here at about 66. Again, you have this wick high and these candle tops right here. So that's a pretty good indication of a stopping point. And the current zone is 38 to 40. I'm not so sure it's going to come back down to that zone. I think it's more likely going to get stopped right here at about $60. So if we take a measured move from there to the previous all-time high, you'd be looking at about 507%. So that's a huge move. I don't know. I mean, if it's worth it for you guys to wait for that move, then, it's worth it. If it's not, then, trade this how you want to trade it, but, or invest in it how you want to invest in it, either way. But I probably, in my opinion, I'd be waiting for it to hit this level to get back in. So about 507%. And again, the previous high is up there at $400. So GLIV, this thing does look like it wants to come lower. It broke the trend line. We are heading down. As I said before, I think the bottom of these wicks right here is probably going to be the stopping point. So somewhere between there and the top of these candle bodies, so about $26 to $28, I think is likely where this thing's going to reverse. It could come lower. It could go down to support. That's possible. That's between 12 to 15, although I don't think it's as likely. But again, if you wanted to get in at about 26 to 28, you could just start DCAing in then. And then you could just DCA all the way down in the support to kind of reduce your risk and also increase your potential upside on the way back up. So 194% move on that one. And yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. Hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.